Good morning, everyone. Just letting everybody into the Zoom. We'll get started here in just a couple minutes. For anyone who didn't fill out the Alliance Group Agent Mastermind Google form, I'm going to throw that in the chat. And if you can fill it out while we're on the call, it's good for me to have this info as we're going through these discussions. I won't share anybody's info with anybody else, but at least I know what you guys are thinking about goal wise and target wise. So let me just figure out how to do this chat thing. So Jared, you filled one out. Helen, you filled one out. We'll just get Frank if you want to. It's up to you. And then Sean, I'm not sure if Sean's actually on or if it's just Sean's AI that's jumping in. But we'll go ahead and get started. Have a little bit of an agenda that we can follow. This will be, considered week one. And I don't know if anybody got the agenda in the. By the way, can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay. If you guys got the agenda in the newsletter, but I will just go ahead and pull that up in my. Let me pull the newsletter up real quick here, and so I can review that with you guys. We can still keep this as an open forum. So if you have questions, certainly reach out. But I felt like we were just talking about the same things over and over again. So, putting together a little bit of an agenda to help us focus a little bit more on whatever your goals might be. And it's going to be different for everybody. So, some agents might just want to make an extra 10 grand a year, $1,000 a month. That's enough to keep them going. I can tell you exactly how many agents you need in your to be sponsored under you for $1,000 a month. Me personally, I want to get up to. I'd like to be at 15 to 20,000 a month. And for me to do that, I have to be probably in the 200 to 250 agent range, which right now I'm at 50. So and of those 50, 26 are on my front line, which I don't have a ton on my second line at this point in time. So that's where we're looking to agents such as yourselves to start to build your organizations. And as you build your organizations, we all grow from that. But everybody has different goals. So some people might have a goal of 30,000 a year, 10,000 a year, whatever it is. You can figure out your number of agents you need in an organization based on that. What's nice about our group is we can a lot of times push more assignments to agents because we have the inventory of referrals through ADR's referral agency, and now also MCM Capital and Temple View, and we're bringing on some other hopefully some other asset management companies to be aligned with us. So it's definitely something that we can help drive, because that's the goal with revenue share. It's profit driven. So if you don't have closes, then obviously you're not going to have anything to share as far as profit goes. So if you have agents in an organization that do zero business, then you're going to have zero revenue share. But if you have agents in your organization that cap, and again, we're following week one's agenda, which week one is basically compiling your list, and let's just talk a little bit about what number of agents you need in your revenue share. So if you have an agent that caps on your tier one, that's $2,900 a year you will get from that agent. You have 10 agents, it's $2,900 or $29,000 for that year. You just simple math. If your agent's half capped, then you divide that in half. So you want capping agents. It's nice to bring people and say, hey, I have 100 people in my organization. I've had people with hundreds of people in their organizations that aren't doing a fraction of what we are in revenue share. And it's just because we have agents that are highly productive. January through April this year, we were just under $100 million in revenue for our group. And that's, when I say our group, that means anybody who's under Darren or under me. So if they're under Darren, then they're under me. If they're under me, they're only under me. But it doesn't matter. We use that global number because it's easier for us to figure out. And Darren and I are essentially working as partners in this, and I'm helping him keep his agents productive, keep his agents getting assets. But it doesn't mean that we could just focus on what we get from ADR, we also have to be out there, pounding the pavement, getting our own deals handled, and so that we can be capping. I don't know that there's very many agents that are going to cap solely on American Destiny assets. There might be a few. Actually, there are a couple, but it's going to be one-offs. It's not going to be everybody or everybody that you bring into the organization. So that's why getting them to engage in training and working with our coaches like Larry and Jeff and myself and anybody else who's willing to help coach, which right now we have quite a lot. Joseph Limo's helping out, Robert Welkart's helping out. So we have a lot of opportunities coaching wise. So let me just stop there and ask if there's any questions at this point in time. Okay, so let's get back to week one agenda. And
There no questions, but I just dropped in the chat box a simple rev share calculator I found. So you could put in the number of homes somebody you think may sell on average, and then slide the slider over to how many agents you have on your different lines. And it gave me a pretty good calculation.
Yeah, those are simple to figure out. I mean, it's basically if you hit a capped agent, $2,900 tier one, $3,200 on tier two. So if Frank, I think you have a couple agents in your organization, not only on tier one, but also on your tier two. Is that correct? You have Kendra, right? Is Kendra you with no? You just went mute.
Yeah, you're all right, Eric. So he has Kendra. He has a couple of agents underneath him there.
Okay, cool. So yeah. Oh, Deborah, you're sharing your screen. Thanks. Did you mean to do that, Deborah? Let's there we go. Anyhow, yeah, it's very simple. Those are good those are very nice calculators to have. I can help out with that too. I've pretty much got this down to a science. I'm pretty much a numbers guy. And right now, agents in our group are averaging $954 per year. So I have 50 agents, and my revenue share has been such that each agent is producing for me $954 in rev share per year. It's a calculation based on my numbers, and the average, I'd say the industry average with EXP is probably under 500. So our group's overproducing for sure. And that's a good thing for you guys, because if you can attract people to us or to you attract people to yourself, they're going to have REO opportunities if they're qualified, of course. If they're not, they're still going to have other opportunities, because we can get them hooked up with Robert Welkart, and he can teach them how to do the online listing platforms. He can help them with calling expires, calling our FSBOs, doing things that most agents should be doing, unless you're really busy, unless you've worked a lot of years to develop a book of business and a referral business that's basically feeding you and your family every month. But for newer agents or newer to different area agents, then it might take a little bit more ramping up to get where you need to go. So anyhow, back to the agenda. This week we want to talk about building your list of potential agents that you can be reaching out to on a regular basis. That's probably the most important thing. And I've been on 3 masterminds over the last 2 weeks, and everybody talked about the same thing. You have to have people to talk to. And there are some agents in our group that go the cold call route, and it's very difficult. I don't recommend it, to be honest with you. Hold on one second here. Let me get Angela.
What did you say that you don't recommend, Eric?
Doing the cold call route, just calling up, getting a listed from the MLS and calling agents. I'm recommending you warm call people, so there's at least some connection. Maybe it's a friend of a friend of a friend, but at least when you call that agent, you can say, hey, I was talking to so-and-so, and they said they should reach out to you. Give me 1 second here. I got to let Angela in for whatever reason. She's not in our Zoom room, and I want to send her the link real quick. So Larry,
here's the thing, guys. While Eric's doing that, I would agree with him, right? The agents seem to do the same thing when they're trying to get business. They don't want to talk to people that already know, like, and trust them. So they go to expireds, they go to FSBOs, and they get beat up. The same thing's going to happen if you guys go to strangers. Now, here's the thing. If you're not willing to call your friends and family and ask for a referral, hey, look, I'm looking for a better referral agent in Boulder, Colorado. Who do you know in that area? Right? If you're not willing to do that, then yeah, it's like cold calling is going to be better than nothing. But this is where Eric and myself can help you, like, get better lists, add more value to them and stuff like that. You know, you could even, you know, if you needed to look for people, you could go to mastermind groups. And I'm just kind of giving you some ideas. Ask Eric, hey, where are we getting the most inventory with American Destiny right now? Oh my gosh, we're getting hammered in Colorado and Texas and Minnesota and Washington. Oh, great. Well, now you can go through your database. Hey, I was just talking to one of my business partners. They pass out a lot of listings. Like, we're getting hammered in that area. Are you interested in doing more listings? Oh my gosh, let me introduce you, right? Setting up that three-way call. That is as complicated as this needs to be. So I was just trying to fill some time for you and be relevant.
I appreciate, I appreciate
your
it.
topic
And
that you were on.
and that definitely dovetails into, you know, the second part of the weekly agenda. And I'm throwing that in the chat right now. So, you know, week one, building your foundation, compile a comprehensive list of potential leads. And you need at least, I would say you should be starting out with, you know, at least 100. I'm sure, I'm not sure, but, you know, I would think that most of us have at least 100 people that we've done business with over the last few years. These could be an agent that was on the other side of a transaction. So you're on the list side, they were on the buy side. This could be people that you've just known, they were in your brokerage before, you know them through the brokerage. Just people that you know over time that happen to be in real estate. And that's where you want to compile your this is essentially your warm list of leads, your sphere of, you should have two spheres of influence, one for your clients that you do business with in real estate, and one for the agents who you could potentially be working with and partnering with. And there's a lot of reasons why you can partner with them. You can be just so overloaded with work, you need to have buyer's agents, and you want to have buyer's agents that you can refer business to, or you might be so busy with business. I have an agent in Alabama. He's going to do 100 transactions this year. He's looking to expand into different markets. He wants to expand into different cities that are not too far from him and have more or less branch offices, but he doesn't want to do the work. He wants the agent that he partners and aligns with to do the work. So he's actively looking for agents in those areas. So that's where, I mean, he could be doing cold calling to those agents and say, hey, look, I'm just looking for a partner, you know, and do the set the appointment thing on your calendar, like it was taught through Chris last week, where your prospecting call. And that's the thing too, if you're reaching out to agents, you're not making that initial call. We'll get into this one. You're not making that initial call your pitch call. All your initial call is setting up the appointment. But that's where he could be, you know, that's where he could maybe be using calls to cold leads. But again, I think it's, you know, until you get, unless you want to just practice on it, you know, and that's the whole thing with what we're doing is we didn't get good at this by rehearsing in our minds for 6 months before we made our first call. Yeah, I practiced my scripts. I rehearsed it, but then I just jumped in and did it. And that's what we all have to. If you want to attract people, you have to be willing to do that. So first, compile your comprehensive list of potential leads. Research and identify multiple sources for finding leads. So any ideas out there on where we could go for this? What do you guys, Larry brought up a couple just now, but any other ideas on where you guys can find sources for leads for people to call? You guys can just jump in and just open your mics. I mean, first we have, you know, people we did deals with. Second, people that you know, but you're going to go through those pretty quick. Where else can you find leads? Potentially warm leads.
Well, if you're like me, you got hundreds of them in your phone.
Yeah, that's probably your best CRM is your phone.
What database are you loading these leads into? Are you putting them in a CRM, or what are you doing with them after you have the list?
I do a couple things. I keep a spreadsheet. And I just keep the spreadsheet as sort of like a backup to my CRM. I use CRM Grow and I use KV Core. But honestly, whatever you use is fine. It's just a matter of making sure that you've tagged them in some way. Like just keep track of your conversations. So what's nice about CRM Grow is I can log conversations and when I remember to, but I'm getting better at that too. But every time we have a conversation, we can log the conversation. And Larry and I share a lot of leads back and forth. And that way we don't have to have multiple profiles for those leads. We can just have one profile that's shared. And then if he makes a note, he can mark it. And if I make a note, I can mark it. We can see each other's notes. So I mean, CRM grows, like $40 a month for a base membership. It's not real expensive. But honestly, you could do it with KV Core. You just can't share the leads with KV Core. But say for instance, you had somebody you were looking to attract. The first thing you want to do is you want to reach out to Larry or myself, and have a conversation with us. This is an agent, especially if it's your first couple. So we can sort of guide you as to how you want to reach out to them. The way that we do it, and we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but the way that we do it, Larry and I do it, is I have an initial conversation with us, with my only goal of that conversation is two goals. One is to provide some value to them. So our network is the value, but the second goal is to get an appointment set with Larry. If you guys are getting into attraction, you can take that same approach, or the approach that Chris Garcia took, and that he explained. And by the way, who got to see the mastermind from last Friday? I think most of you guys were on it. Angela was on it. Jared, you guys were all on it. So, basically he went into great detail, and I took copious notes. I wrote down every word that he said in that hours long webinar, and I'll share that with everybody. Minute 8, he talked about this. Minute 12, he talked about this. I wrote down all the scripts. He actually sent me the email he sends to agents when they close a deal that we're going to start sending out to you guys to help facilitate this. But he made a very strong point, is that the purpose of his prospecting call was not to talk about EXP. It was just to set an appointment. And at that discovery call, which is the appointment, that's when he's going to talk a little bit more about their goals, their aspirations, their needs, taking a person from present positive, where everything's going great, everything's hunky-dory, and seeing how he can be a bit of a disruptor, because a lot of people will fake themselves into believing everything's great when it really isn't. And that's where you pick the holes and you start to put, show them, things could be better. And that's where you move them into a positive future, or discover their negative present. Because people want to avoid a negative future. That's the thing you want to try to avoid. Moving down our list. So anyhow, any ideas? Jared brought up phone calls. Help your cell phone. Any other ideas as far as places to find warm leads? Larry brought up the mastermind groups.
Yeah, do you guys are you involved with mastermind groups on Facebook? Right? Are you responding? Are you active? Do you guys go to training events, CE classes? I mean, Jared, was just asking about, he's already booked his tickets for 5-star, right? All of those people there want to do REO business. I would be collecting as many damn cards as possible at that event, right? Or any event that I go to at that route, and then figuring out a reason to reconnect and stuff with them. A lot of you guys know people already, but we're just talking about extra things. But yes, mastermind groups, Facebook groups, local events. There's a number of different things.
Any idea? Now, we all belong to different mastermind groups, but we don't all belong to the same ones. So whenever somebody posts something on one of these groups, this is a perfect opportunity for you to say, hey, let me just use me as an example. If I see somebody post about they want to do break into REO, but I look at my database and I see that person isn't in there. All I do is I send them a DM, a direct message, say, hey, I saw you're asking some questions. Let me, if you'd like, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about American Destiny Real Estate and how our referral network works. Here's my calendar. Simple as that. I'm probably batting 30% on those. Maybe I'll probably higher than that. I'm probably batting like 50% on those. You could do the same thing. You could set up a call where you're just talking to the agent about the referral group that you belong to. Don't mention anything else about anything else, just the referral group. Have a quick conversation. Hey, I'm with American Destiny Real Estate. They do REO. Do you have REO experience? No. Would you like to learn more about maybe getting it? Yes. Well, here, let me set you up a call with Eric. And then you set up a call with me. I'll do the same thing I do with them every time around. I'll interview them, talk to them about the network, and then the next thing I do, I'll put them on with Larry. So it would be a 3-step process, but it's a very safe, low risk process where all you're doing is you're getting somebody introduced to the organization, and then you're marked, you're tagged as having introduced that person to us, and if they would ever become part of EXP, you'd be their sponsor at that point in time. It's just when I tell people, everybody, that one thing you have to make sure that you're very matter of fact about making sure that you create the appointments, you put yourself in there at your email in there, so we know that so there's no question about where the lead came from, because I get at least 5 or 6 calendar invites a day from people that I didn't set these up. They're coming from other people, but I've trained our agents to know to make sure that, number one, they're not just giving our calendars out, they're actually talking to the person and setting us up on the calendar. So the way this would look is like this. If let me share my screen real quick. And then if I go to, say I'm setting up an appointment for me, I'll just say you guys can see my screen. Do you see my calendar? Okay, so you just role play with me here, Helen. Helen, I just want to see if you'd like to set up a time with Eric to have an appointment. Does that sound okay? She must not have a mic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me look at how would let's see, Eric looks like Eric's next appointment, and they don't see this. You drive everything on this calendar. You're directing them to the times. So I only have one appointment on July 1st. I can't be available that day because I'm going to be on a call with them. So I just moved to July 8th, and I just say to the agent, great. Are you central? You're central time zone. So let me just look at central time zone. And it looks like Eric has appointments in the morning and afternoon. Which would you prefer, morning or afternoon?
Morning.
Okay, great. So he has a 10:30 or 11:30. Which would you prefer? Would either of those 2 times work for you?
Yep, 10:30.
Okay, great. So let me put you in the calendar, put your name, email, add yourself as a guest. That's the most important part. And then all I require in my calendar is a cell phone, city, state. I have some questions. Are they the realtor, associate broker, types of listings they handle? And then down here, any specific questions. Hit schedule event. Everybody's, like, Larry's calendar is a little bit different than mine. Jeff Russell's a little bit different than ours, but it's as simple as that. But the reason why
I don't see yours on my screen. I don't know if anybody else does, but
oh, I think I might have just clicked out of it.
I
Yeah.
just have a blue, I guess maybe your desktop.
Yeah. I click so fast that sometimes I don't realize I'm clicking out of things.
Unknown caller.
But when you set up the appointment, when you set up the calendar, you want to do it for them. You don't want to send them our calendar and say just set up a time. You actually want to drive that part of the calendar setup. So it looks like we got a little bit off target here. Any questions so far, though?
No questions, but I had another thought on finding sources of agents to target on this. But so I have like a huge LinkedIn network, and I get a lot of messages like most people on LinkedIn. But yesterday, for example, an agent from a different state sends me a message about wanting to connect and be a referral source, because I have a lot of people from my state moving to his state. So I just kind of like that idea when they knock on your door, why not Well, that seems like an easy target.
It is. It's absolutely an easy target. And I do that all the time. I send out anytime anybody sends. Here's the other thing I do. Do you guys ever get like reverse prospecting emails from agents? Hey, I see that you have an agent set up for a search, blah, blah, blah. Well, I always respond to those. I just, I respond, say, and thank them for sending it to me. And I don't immediately turn around and say, do you want to have a call? But I do eventually, let it, maybe I did that a couple times with the agent, and I'll just say, hey, look, I noticed you've been sending me a lot of requests to have me go show your homes, and I'd love to partner with you. Would you mind having a quick conversation to talk about maybe some ways we could partner together? And you set up a Zoom call with them. And that was the other thing that Chris recommended is anytime you're doing a discovery call, you're doing it via Zoom. But your prospecting calls can be done by phone. I do all my prospecting calls, and essentially my calls are prospecting calls. I don't even consider my calls discovery because Larry's doing that more of that for me because we've just set up a good system. But once you start doing discovery, this is where you're actually going into, and I don't even know if I'd recommend anybody on this call do the discovery call by yourselves. I think I would rather see you do that discovery call with one of us, with Larry, myself, or Jeff Russell. Larry, what are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I had to take it off of mute for a second. Yeah, so yeah, I would agree with that in the beginning, right? Unless you're comfortable with it. If you worked for credit cards or different organizations and stuff in the past, maybe you feel comfortable with that. But for me, it's all the same script. Like whether I'm selling widgets, real estate, mortgages, etc., I'm trying to figure out what the problem is in their business and then come up with a solution. So it really depends on you. Like it's all just practice. It's not even good or bad whether you crush it or not. It's about just taking that action and putting yourself out there. And when you're doing the right things every single day, you're going to get lucky, right? Like somebody's going to be like, you know what? I'm done with my brokerage. Oh my gosh. Like, why don't you talk to us? I love it over here. I get in business. I have ownership. I do this, right? Like, but you never get that opportunity if, you're not putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I agree with that. So just a couple more points here on our agenda this week, and then I'll give you guys some homework to do. And I have a 1 o'clock, but I just texted them I'm going to be a couple minutes late, so I can be a couple minutes past 1. But the last 2 items on our weekly checklist is create a system for organizing and managing your leads list. So we talked about that. That's your CRM. Again, I also use a spreadsheet. There are times when, for whatever reason, I forgot to upload somebody's information to the CRM. So I have my spreadsheet as a backup. And right now I have 700 people that I've spoken with over the last year on that spreadsheet. And the way I do it is my newest people I've talked to are at the top. So that I always see the newest first, and then the people that I talked to first a year ago are at the bottom of the spreadsheet. And if I have a second conversation with somebody, I move them back up to the top. So again, that's just, and I keep track of, when I'm making contact with people, I want to connect with them on social media. I want to connect with them on with LinkedIn. I want to make sure that they're getting my my monthly email. Sean sends me his email, so that's just I get to get ideas from that. I have a couple other agents that send me their emails, which is fine. So I just want to keep that agent top of mind with me all the time. And then the last thing I would say the last thing on our checklist is to set realistic goals for weekly lead generation. Chris at Friday's meeting said we should be reaching out to at least one person a day. That's fine. Even one person a week. If you reach out to one person a week, that's 52 people a year that you've reached out to. But go through your closes over the last couple of years. Write down a list of all the agents you've done business with. Think about how you can reach out to them. Come to Larry and I with some of these people you're going to be reaching out to. We'll give you direction on how to make those initial contacts. We want you to do it right from the get-go. We don't want you to, fumble around with this. You can fumble around with, people you don't really care if they're going to come on board, but your more warm leads, your hot leads, it's a good idea to make sure that you've rehearsed and practiced and had the help with of people like ourselves who've made hundreds, maybe even thousands of calls at this point in time and heard every single objection because, ultimately it's our group that makes us special. EXP is just the vehicle that we chose. It was the easiest vehicle. It was easier than open up, 50 branch offices or 50 franchises. We were actually thinking about that. EXP has just made it that much easier. And in the long run, they offer way more training tools, things that we can tap into that, would have cost us hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to develop on our own. So it was just a win-win. So I kind of went fast, kind of dominated the conversation, but is there any questions that you guys had or anything that you want to talk about before we end off on today's call? So the homework is this. If you haven't filled out the Google form, fill it out and send it to me so I can keep an idea and we can stay in communication as to what your goals are. And I can tell you exactly how many people you need to attract to your organization to achieve that goal, whether it's an extra 10,000 a year or an extra 50,000 a year, or in my case, I want an extra 100,000 a year. And Larry's already doing an extra 300,000 a year. So it's possible to do this. And the second thing, the second part of your homework is to start a spreadsheet, some sort of way to keep track of your leads. And you can update that Google form and just let me know that it went from 60 people on your form to 100 people on your form. We'll just keep track of that. And then, I'll touch base with you guys either via text or email on at least a weekly basis to how things are going, and let's crush your goals. If you're on this call, you want to attract people to your organization, so we might as well make it worth our while and work towards that goal. So again, any questions?
Hey Eric, it's Darren. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Darren.
Good. I want to throw out real quick. When you're going through your database, and especially like your the warm calls like Eric and Larry are talking about, when I did this years and years ago, I had my own company, gosh, since I got 2 lives ago. And I was always hesitant of reaching out to some of the big agents in the area, just thinking that they had everything worked out. They knew what was up and what was down. And just I finally got the courage up, and it's like 15 seconds of courage, they call it, that I sent out a couple of notices or the postcards and to some of the top agents in my marketplace. And I had the #1 agent respond to me, went out to lunch with me, and honestly was just like any other agent. They're always looking for an opportunity. They're always looking to see what's going on. I throw that out there because sometimes when you're going through this database and you're looking to grow your business, you might hesitate because you think they have it all worked out or they got it going so well. They're always, especially if they got it going on so well, they got a great business, they're a good business person, they're always looking for a better widget, a better way to do it. So don't hesitate, don't be afraid, get that 15 seconds of courage, reach out. You never know what you're going to get. Worst case, they say no thank you. So just throw that out as an added plus when you're reaching out to people. Don't limit yourself to just people you think that might be interested. Anybody that you can do on a warm situation, get the courage and reach out and say hi.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I was in an office in near Pittsburgh where there was a bunch of top producers, all alpha, agent types. And it was amazing. Within like 4 years, 3/4 of them had left that office and went to other offices. So just because they're with a particular group or an office or whatever doesn't mean that they're looking for a better opportunity. And this is a great opportunity for agents, especially agents who are capping, agents who are potential icon, because when you're icon agent, you're paying 0 commission. And there are some agents out there, quite a few in our group, as a matter of fact, that will achieve that status this year. I got to run. I have a call, but if you guys have any other questions, shoot me an email. We can have a quick call. You have my calendar. It's in the newsletter. If you don't have my calendar, let me know and I'll send you my calendar. But you guys have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay.